First off, I want to say excuse the noise that my dog is making while she's eating her bone. She's really getting at it. So you'll hear some noise on the tile here. Second, I want to talk about, before I get to the main subject, about doing the things that, as you make more money, you should be doing less in some cases. So, for instance, or you should be not doing less, but outsourcing a few things, and then also doing more for yourself. Me personally, the only thing I do in terms of like cleaning, I hired a cleaning lady. I don't cut my own lawn. It's a pretty big lawn that would take probably close to a day to cut, pretty much, if I was to cut the entire 7 acres of grass that I have. And even when my lawn guy does it, he doesn't cut the whole 7 acres. He only cuts like the front half, and I cut the back half every like couple months or so. Outsourcing a couple of things, for instance, finding businesses that can come to you so you don't have to travel to them, and you could focus on your work and what you're doing, answering calls, opening up other lines of businesses and business and relationships and things like that. Just yesterday, my cleaning lady came by, and, her and her daughter did the whole house. An all right job. There's, so you kind of see where they miss some spots here and there. But, I just got to talk to them about it and say, hey, listen, if we're going to do this a regular thing, can we just make sure some of these areas are addressed? So I'll have to write those down as I, go along today, or as I see them before the next, the next call or the next appointment. And I only have them do it once a month, because I'm not going to do the major cleaning. I'll spot sweep and clean and stuff like that, spot mop. But for the most part, they're coming out. And it's only me and my dog. And my dog mainly is in my sunroom, and that's like the dirtiest place. And even that, I'll sweep myself. But I'm not going to sit here and clean the whole house. So that's one thing. And then another is doing things to take care of yourself, such as on a regular basis, I'm going to start working in getting a massage every maybe 2 weeks. Or alongside me getting my hair done, like retwists and stuff like that. So, outsourcing things like lawn care. And this comes when you make a little bit more money and you could focus on your craft and your skill and your job or whatever that may be. And then you can outsource a lot of that work within reason. If you're making enough, and you can put, more time and effort into the things that you like and that make you money, so that you can actually afford to do these things. Another thing is, so the massages every couple weeks, either every 2 weeks, every month. I'm not sure yet. I've been working out more, because the next thing is getting a personal trainer. So I've talked to you guys before about this, and I mentioned probably in the last video, where I've gotten a personal trainer because I just had to admit to myself, even though I've coached kids and I know what to do to lose weight, I lack discipline in that area. I lack discipline in quite a few areas. So, my goal now, as I'm making more, is to clean that up and put myself in a better position, or better position to be in a better position, so to speak. As I said, I made that video about doors and opening up doors and access and things like that. The next thing I have to do, that's on my list, that's major to me, is, as I said, I'm remodeling. I'm trying to get started with remodeling the house, get everything together. So then when it comes time to actually pull the trigger on that, once I've paid off some debt, or paid down a lot of all my revolving debt balances and stuff like that, which is probably $100 grand or so right now. Again, 70 grand of that is my truck, or 73 grand of that is my truck. And I've paid off quite a bit in the last couple weeks, actually, or last month or two. So I've been doing well with that. And the next thing is get an accountant, a proper accountant, to do my my books, or prep my taxes, or get me ready for tax season every season, so that when it comes time to do all these things, it's just boom, give them the paperwork, get it done, nothing serious. Instead of me waiting, doing it last minute. And I want to get somebody local, and I want to have an actual good relationship with them because of some of the things that I want to do into the future. Also, I've already sought legal counsel on some other things as well. So nothing like a retainer yet or anything like that, but I've started the conversation and got in touch with someone. So those are the few things that I'm doing as I'm making more money, so that I can actually outsource and focus on making more money, and then of course, and another big thing about making more money is maintaining the money that you're making. So it's like, all right, cool, you got one thing, now you got another thing, but you still have to worry about the one thing that you had before, because now you have two things. So you have to maintain those two things as you go to your third thing. So it's like, it's easier. It's like you could talk the numbers and you put it on paper, but then at some point you're going to have to do the work, you're going to have to do the work of putting this all together and keeping it together. So, that's one of my things there. So I wanted to talk about this, I think his name, Anthony O'Neill or something like that. Oh man, I forgot his name. I just put it on in my community tab, a video, and I mentioned, let's read what I said. Yeah, this is the table with AO. I forgot. I think it's like Anthony O'Neill or something like that. And he's talking to Tony Gaskins. And in my community tab, I put, we have to recognize the difference in male and female-centric masculine talk. Become a better man so you can serve yourself versus serve your woman better. Or serve yourself better versus serving your woman better. I want to say this is absolute bullshit. But I will say, I can't read. I apologize. I won't say this is absolute bullshit, but I will say I do not agree with this mindset. So far, there have been only small skirmishes with the purple pill space, but it's growing and will be the next major battle with red pill ideology. I say this because if the environment doesn't allow these women to indulge in blue pill men, then they will pick and promote the next best thing. So, when you have problems reading like myself, I just try to slow down, but that doesn't always work. Anyways, the main part about that is, and I listened to the whole thing. I made the post before I finished listening to the whole thing, because you see it and you know what it is. But before I, cast full judgment on it, I won't say it's absolute bullshit. I mean, yeah, you want to make yourself a better person, and different strokes for different folks. Some people will travel, some people will stay in the U.S., so on and so forth. All these different things can happen and occupy the same space without being, without being something where you're like, hey, listen, I can't, this person is wrong, I'm right, 100%, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can do all of these things, so to speak, and you can do all these things at different points in your life. The part that I feel that's bullshit on this, and, feel and think, but the part that I feel that's bullshit on this is that now we're doing something for the validation or for the betterment of someone else versus, and that's just like my feeling. And then my thought is, why not better yourself? My thought is, why not better yourself so that anybody that is with you, around you, that depends on you, that, relies on you for anything, can actually get something from you, any type of resource, whatever it may be, whether it's money for your kid or something like that. They can get all these things from you because you can actually afford and you can actually support them now and into the future. So like when I see this type of stuff and I'm seeing this, this guy talk about this, I'm like, okay, this is all well and good. You're doing things for the betterment of your wife, because then your wife also supports your family. That's why I won't call it absolute bullshit. But the thing is, when you're actually doing all these things and you're talking about men get released 100% of the time versus women get released 70% of the time or something like that, or 70% of women don't get a release or something like that. And I'm like, okay, oh, wow. Like when I hear that, it's like, okay, and this is not the only point they made. When I hear that and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, okay, so what happens when you don't get a release as a man? When she doesn't do it for you? Is that counted? When you feel emasculated because of maybe a penis-sized joke, or you have a boyfriend-sized penis, all types of other things that, people will say to demean you or something like that, or make you feel worse about yourself sexually, or, you can't last very long, which is another point that was put in there. The work of a woman is miserable work, so to speak, or considered possibly miserable work, and it's put on that, hey, listen, we as men have to serve our women, and actually, not only just serve our women, but we have to, we're here to serve our women. Yeah, that's it. So we're here to serve our women. And if we do not serve our women, or we can't fully serve our women, then we are less of a man, or we're not the men that we should be. We're not living up to our full potential, our full godly potential, what have you. And, you know, what's crazy is we've been hearing this rhetoric for decades, right? You know, I grew up on this, so on and so forth. I personally I get off on sexually pleasing a woman, but I also get off on some wild shit. Like, well, not actually, that shit's not wild anymore. Like, you know, you choke a chick, you know, maybe give her the toe hitch, you know, look that up. You know, face painting, you know, that type of stuff. I'm an artist, so to speak, sometimes. You know, just like, oh, you know, use my wand and just bam, or use my brush and paint her face. You know, all that type of stuff. So it's just like, okay, what about the stuff that gets a man off and everything else like that? And, you know, he made a good point, and this is kind of what I'm doing. It's just like, well, you talk about the woman, what about the man, so on and so forth. And that's understandable. But the crazy thing is, you know, we hear these things, and it's for certain people, not for me. This is the purple pill stuff that's going on. But, hey, calm down. Every time I'm talking, she wants to start doing all this extra stuff, like playing with squeaky toys while I'm on meetings and stuff. But, you know, it's kind of crazy that you hear this female-centric masculine rhetoric. Anyways, so you hear this female-centric masculine rhetoric, right? And I'm all for pleasing a woman and everything else like that. But when it comes to, like, it's just overboard with it in some cases. And I hear that so much. And, you know, I don't listen to Tony Gaskins. I'm sure he says he makes male-centric content as well. But we hear these things in different places, and it gets promoted more and more. And you have more female-centric outlets, such as your, I think Anthony O'Neill, I forget his damn name. But you hear all these things, and it's just like, man, you know, maybe I am doing it wrong. And I think that this is what happens. These are the little shots across the bow, so to speak, when it comes to men in these purple pill spaces, talking out in the open, and kind of not targeting per se, but we know who they're talking to or talking against. And that's the thing where it's important in terms of what we do in this space, what we do in our everyday lives, when we're talking to people, talking to younger people. I believe in balance, and I believe in actually talking about both sides and what you can do. But if I'm going to actually pick a side, it will always be male first. And it's not going to be male first in terms of detriment to the woman, but it'll be like, hey, listen, if you want more women, okay, that's fine, but don't let that be your only thing, and focus mainly on yourself and your peace. As you can see, I always have pictures or videos of my lake and stuff like that, and, you know, the quietness. You barely hear anything. You might hear a train here in a little bit, but the trains were going off crazy last night. But, you know, you'll hear that more than you'll hear anything else. You know, like, you're not going to hear a lot of traffic, especially on the weekend. Today's Sunday. So you're not going to hear much traffic. This is my space. This is my peace. This is what I live in and work in on a daily basis. So it's you know, this is the type of content that I like to make, and I hear these men talking, and what I'm seeing really, whether they see it or not, it's really making it a space to where women can actually now nest in. So there's no more blue pill spaces, or not many blue pill spaces. You have Andrew Tate on Tucker Carlson. You have some of these other, like, you know, Kevin Samuels, of course, becoming like a very prominent red pill, you know, men first. Well, I won't call it red pill, but men first, male first, type talking, mouthpiece, so to speak, especially black men first, and saying, hey, listen, brother, you matter. And then you're starting to see this like pushback from other men, of course, where men are coming out and saying, hey, listen, you know, she matters just as much as you matter, if not more than you matter, because she has your children, and your children matter above all, and she takes care of your children, so she matters more than you. But then what does the Bible say? You know, like, okay, cool. So you're gonna break your neck to try and actually, you know, go on and do the right thing and make sure that, you know, you keep everything together, so on and so forth. But then you get into a spot where you can't keep that up. And that to me is an issue where it's, you know, we see so much content in terms of, we see so much this content that it is actually female-centric masculinity or female-centric masculine talking points. We could say gender war is over. I mean, there's always some battle to be had. I won't like hold on to the gender war thing or concept. Damn, it's a nice breeze. But I will say things like, there's more to this. There's more to come. And we do need to be prepared for it. I think that we've gone through one of the first of many wars, so to speak. And, you know, remember when BGS first said the gender war is over, and I was like, I will not stop. We are like mercenaries. We must go on. We will find another battle, and we always do. You know, now it's the passport thing. But we do have to worry about what's happening in purple pill spaces, and how these spaces are growing in number, growing in support, because it is the next best option for people to have, or for women to actually nest in. I mentioned this the other day in another video, and hopefully I uploaded it. I gotta check. But I mentioned this the other day in another video, and I said, you know, it's crazy that, you know, we deal with so many women that always have this, they always have a retort. They always have something else to say. They always feel it necessary to look like they're not weak or less than. One of the things they said at the end of this interview with Tony Gaskins is that, you know, we need to let go and sacrifice. As men, we need to sacrifice our pride, our ego, I forgot the other word. I don't want to misquote him too much or anything like that. But I will say, like, you know, we have to sacrifice ourselves for the betterment of, you know, the women around us. The women that are in our lives, the women that we support, that will possibly have our children or what have you. And to that I say, okay, what are they sacrificing? We hear so much about male sacrifice, and when I actually bring that up to women and talk about things like sacrifice, I have women that, like, you know, you could see the change in tone in text messages and in conversations when you're actually on the phone with them, and you can see the ones that will, like, you know, might, you know, play fool to catch wise, and then you'll see the ones that'll be like, well, why do I have to sacrifice that? I can have this, this, and that as well. I mean, why do we not have to have this? You know, and that really gets me, and it tells me a lot. Another thing I do to actually, like, what's it called? Oh man, what do they call it when you do this? To vet women and to make it to where we see what they're really about in terms of the vetting process. Pretty much check them or cross them off the list. There's a word for that. Anyways, I don't want to say discredit, but another thing I do is I talk about money. Not my money. I talk about their money. It's very funny because, you know, I remember I just had this conversation just the other day, and I didn't know I do it because I do this all the time because it's just interesting to me because I like demography and stuff like that. But what happens is I always have this conversation about money, and it's mainly because I'm not really scared to talk about my money. I don't really care. I talk to you guys about my money, and then even if it comes to, like, women talking about you know, getting to my, like, women wanting to get to my money, like, I don't have women like that around me that stay around me for a long period of time. Like, they know they're just not going to get all that. They know they're not going to get, like, their bills paid and all this other shit. Like, it just doesn't happen. You know, it just really doesn't happen. You know, a couple times a chick will be like, you know, you get the number, and then within, like, the first text message conversation and back and forth, she's like, dang, man, you know, I'm really going through it. I just had to pay my light bill. Dang, you too? Yo, they almost overdraft my account when they took my light bill out. That's crazy. We have so much in common. That's wild. I'll be saying it just like that, just messing around with them, because at that point, like, you're just trying to get money out of me. And I'm not going to be okay with that. I'm not going to respect that. That's not going to be something that, this is not going to go further than this conversation. So I talk about money with women. So sacrifice and talk about money. And I talk about their money. And I'd be like, oh, man, you make how much? I was like, oh, okay, what do you do? All right, cool. Wow, man, that makes pretty good money. I need a sugar mama. And when you say that type of stuff, it makes women feel a certain way. And they automatically go into sugar mama. Like, you're supposed to protect and provide and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But they do it in terms of they change in tone. So they do all of this stuff without, like, actually vocalizing it. I remember the last chick I talked to and I did that. She was like, I got to call you back. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh, okay, no problem, bye. And I was just like, I will never hear from this chick again. Because this was like the second time I talked to this chick, and the last time she was talking about marriage. And that was like on like Plenty of Fish. And then now this was on like Facebook dating, and you still single with 3 kids. Like, it's just like, all right, cool. Good luck. Like, I don't know what to tell you. She wants to get married, but it's just like, yo, you single with 3 kids, and like, I mean, somebody will do it, but, and her tubes are tied. And it's just like, man, I ain't got enough room for no 3 kids even in my house, and I ain't building on no addition anytime soon. So, nah, bro. Nah. Good luck. So that's the part that kills me and kind of gets me when I hear this type of stuff, man, is that these women start making they start making these changes in their vocal patterns and texting patterns when you start talking about sacrificing money on their end. And you find that women, this is something BGS has said, and I'll wrap it up here, but you find that women are not ready, they're not ready to take on the mantle of breadwinner, or they're not really ready to take on the mantle of partnership. Like, listen, if you can do it yourself, then all I got to do is just come in and provide a little schmeat, and that's it. Like, I ain't got to do much. You got everything else, Obviously, you just need a little bit of, like, partnership, a little companionship and a little intimacy every so often. Like, go ahead. Let's start a little, like, here's a document. Here's a lease document. We're starting another gig relationship here. And I'm going to give you this much a week, and we're going to talk and all this other shit. And then you're going to give me this, in return for, those things. I want, a bit of your femininity. I don't have to get too much, I'll pay accordingly. I'll pay for dates and stuff like that. So it becomes like, relationship tricking type shit, Like, all right, and you get 1 or 2 little things, and it's like, all right, cool, we'll do this for 3 months. We'll break up, and then you'll call me toxic, and, we'll go from there. Like, this is how this really works out. Because it's like, yo, if you have everything, you have just about everything, and you need to fill in, those gaps here and there, pun intended, a vulgar pun intended, but you fill in these gaps here and there, cool, I'm a gap filler, I'll do what I can with what I got, Give you a little bit of caulking for that crack there, but it's crazy because that's not what they want, and this is the cognitive dissonance. This is the disingenuous or the self-delusion that a lot of women will have. And again, this video's gone off into a little bit of a tangent here, but this is the self-delusion that these women have. And then you start to see where these men start to promote this self-delusion, where these men will talk, and it's just like, listen, there's a problem out here, and they just call out both sides, and supposedly that's going to fix the problem. And it's like, if we could really just talk it out and get it over with, we'd be done decades ago. The Hoteps and Black Conscious, Pan-Africanists, they would have solved that stuff years ago. It would have already been done. The NOI, what's it called? The Nation of Islam, NOI, the brothers on the side of the street corners that are, Muslim and everything else like that, and they're shouting and, reading all these Bible verses and stuff like that, reading from the Quran and all, like, Muslim religions, all this stuff, we would have solved this a long time ago if people listened. Now, we're done with talking and listening. Now we're putting stuff into action, and the environment is supporting or actually magnifying the actions that we're taking. And this is the issue where a lot of people are running into, and this is why I talked about, the next big battle will be against a purple pill space, where these purple pillars will be red pill aware, but they also will still have blue pill ideology and say, hey, listen, I know it's bad, but screw it, do it anyway. We've already had the couple skirmishes already. This passport bros thing, it's just another self-cleaning movement or self-cleaning process within our space. But man, the next thing, yeah, it's definite to me. That's definitely what's going to happen. All right, we're getting closer. Oh, you're 25 minutes or so, 26 minutes almost. So we're getting closer to that. Guys, with that being said, I appreciate and love you all. My dog with her Mastiff markings trying to get like her slobber all over me is, no, I don't want to do this. But guys, we have to see these things for what they are. We have to recognize these patterns and talking points, and we have to understand that we have to actually, not even that, not just understand, but we have to make a decision of what we want. Do we want to be female-centric masculine? Do we want to have female-centric masculinity, or do we want to have male-centric masculinity, where we're focusing on ourselves to better ourselves for our betterment, so that we can actually support ourselves into the future and anyone else that actually wants to be with us in terms of getting on to our programming, our code, or what have you. All right. As always, thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you all. Peace.